Hi everyone, my name is Jamie Costello. This is my critical assessment of the PRECEDE-PROCEED model and what I learned through the application of the framework to our case study for GPH738. The PRECEDE-PROCEED model is a framework designed to guide the planning, implementation, and evaluation of public health interventions. There are 8 phases of the PRECEDE-PROCEED model. PRECEDE consists of 4 phases of assessment in order to compile a comprehensive picture of the health issue as well as the overall quality of life of the target community. The latter half of the model, PROCEED, consists of the implementation phase and 3 phases of evaluation. Throughout the last 8 weeks, I used the PRECEDE-PROCEED framework to plan an intervention addressing self-management of diabetes in Wilcox County, Alabama. The framework has a number of strengths. First off, the framework is a very useful tool in designing public health interventions. It gives a clear path to guide communities addressing health issues. Not only is the model a tool, but it's a very comprehensive guide. The framework begins with the identification of a quality of life issue and walks planners and communities through assessment, planning, resource identification, implementation, and evaluation of interventions, leaving no stone unturned. Lastly, the PRECEDE-PROCEED model emphasizes the involvement of and focus on the community and target population during all phases. This not only increases the ownership of the process and builds capacity among community members, but increases the long-term effectiveness of the intervention. While working through the framework, I also noticed a couple of challenges that the model poses. The PRECEDE-PROCEED model is highly prescriptive, and as I followed the phases one by one, I occasionally found myself sidetracked and concerned with matching terminology and succession of the assessment phases. This hampered my progress in the early phases. Community members using this framework may experience some of these same challenges if not prepared and clear that the framework is meant to be a guide, not a rule. As previously mentioned, one strength of this framework is that it is comprehensive. This, however, could also be a weakness in that the model brings with it a high demand of resources, including human and financial capital, as well as time. Instead of supporting a community through their improvement process, this high resource demand could actually hamper their efforts. While applying the PRECEDE-PROCEED model to an actual case study, I learned a number of lessons about the framework. The framework is such a clear and useful guide to help not only plan interventions, but to assess the community and plan, implement, and evaluate interventions. The assessments involved in the PRECEDE-PROCEED model allow users to gather such a depth of information about the community and identified health issues that you begin to truly understand all of the factors that contribute to the quality of life of the community. While overall assessment of the entire community is important, it's also important to go back and find specific information about target populations that have been identified. If looking to create change among a single population or neighborhood, it's important to look at information specific to that target population in order to design an intervention that will affect change in that community. Overall, I learned about the depth of information and focus needed to create a widespread, lasting change within a community. The PRECEDE-PROCEED model is an excellent framework to do just that. If I were to go back and complete the case study and intervention planning phase over again, I would change 2 things. During the assessment phase, I would focus more on my target population instead of the county as a whole. I would gather information specific to the low-income African American community within Wilcox County, as well as the ways in which this community utilizes healthcare. In addition, I would take more advantage of the background knowledge gathered during the assessment and alignment phases in order to create more connection between the varying pieces of my proposed intervention. Both of these changes to my application of the PRECEDE-PROCEED framework would increase the probability that my proposed intervention would create long-lasting change in Wilcox County.